Hi guys, good morning. It's Hazel Jarvis and today we're going to do a little garden scene in Italy. So this is our inspiration photo, which is a scene of olive groves. And the first thing we will do is, and you probably guessed already, a quick thumbnail sketch and some color notes. So I make a couple of pencil marks on the paper, which are probably intelligible only to me, and you want to keep them nice and light, but they show where the olive trees are going to go and the sky in the foreground. And the first thing that I want to do is just put in the sky. So I'm going to use my favorite periwinkle and French ultramarine, and I'm just going to knock in a very quick sky. So the sky is now done, and I'm going to mix up a lovely lime green, which is my bright yellow, and a little bit of number 50, and I'm just going to put in the grass in the foreground. And if you have a bigger brush, that's probably a good idea. We have this lovely yellow. You can't really see it, I'm afraid, because the studio light's a bit dark, but we have the sky in and lovely yellow, and now we have to wait, unfortunately, for it to dry, so we'll just give this a second or two. See where the olive trees are going to go, so now I'm going to paint around them and put in the hills in the background. For the hill colour, I'm using 61, the periwinkle, and 139, which is the dark purple. And I'm just going to go right across, just lightly stroking in some distant hills. Whoops, that's a little too dark. Take a little bit more periwinkle and just put that in. Next, we mix up some silvery brown for the trunks of the olive trees. And that's the periwinkle and the Van Dyke brown, which is 47. And you're just going to stroke in those lovely gnarled trees. And maybe a little bit of a branch. So in goes the tree. And you want to have it sort of twisting in on itself because it's a beautiful old aged tree. You don't want to get in some of this background blur of the green of the trees. Green of the trees, I'm going to use 61, my periwinkle, but of course, and a little bit of 50, which is that sort of minty green. And I mix the two together. I test it on a little bit of scrap paper, and then I start to put it in the background. And if it bleeds a little bit into the purple behind, that's fine. And I want to tuck in some dark purple shadow later on, so I'm going to leave space for that shadow. So I carve around this tree. I paint over this one because it's going to be all green. So annoyingly, this is one of those paintings where you can't just sit down and do it. You have to wait for something to dry. So I waited for my background to dry, and now I'm going to go back in and I'm going to start work on the olive trees. So I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna, and I'm going to start to put in some leaves. And I do it by basically drawing around the leaf shape. Just like that. So as you go, you want to be very deliberate and you want to think about areas and shapes. So you don't want to put them in random. You want to put them in as if they have actual clumps. So I start. Now I'm going to move over to the larger tree and I'm going to work in exactly the same way, doing these little sort of clumps and areas of leaves. And just varying the direction. It's kind of a calligraphic squiggle, and sometimes I mix the burnt sienna with the indigo, which is number 67. So we just keep putting in those leaves. Now I'm going to add some dark cypress trees in the background. So that is my indigo 67 with number 54, the green. Just test it and put in just the suggestion of those cypress trees in the background to give depth. And with this same green, the 67 and the 54, I'm going to fill in some leaves on my middle tree. So I'm doing it in exactly the same way that I did with the other two. I'm thinking about directional clumps. My trees are filled in, so now I'm going to add some beautiful dark purple shadow. The dark purple shadow is indigo 67 and 139, which is like an ultramarine violet, and that just goes in at the bottom. And you can tuck in a little bit in the trees. Doesn't have to be straight across. I'm going to go back in, add a little bit of stronger green down below. So that is the bright yellow number 40 and 54 mixed together, just to give the suggestion of the long grass. And if you want, you can also flick with a little bit of white to suggest daisies in the grass, but you have to do that when the painting is completely dry. So here you have a lovely sunny day in an olive grove in Italy, and it's a very impressionistic, quick study, but I hope you all enjoy doing it. So thank you so much, and just remember, Art Online, and hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.